explore as a disadvantage, just to get back on track. People have always considered this to be a trouble spot, an impediment to making these arguments. I started to think that perhaps this is actually one of the biggest advantages that we have, that statism exists for these arguments. Obviously, it's a tremendous disadvantage for society, for the planet Earth, for everything else. But now, the thought experiment is somewhat of a fantasy, and I think it would be kind of difficult to execute in a real situation, but interesting nonetheless. And I thought I would share it here. It was actually going to be the next episode of the show, but I thought it would be worth sharing here, where hopefully we can leave some time for discussion. And if we don't have time now, we can certainly do it later. Where this idea is kind of undeveloped, so I wanted to put it out there. I wanted to get some feedback. If people could augment it or change it or tweak it a little bit, I think that would be great. But I thought this would make a good place to present it with everyone here, sharing these ideas. I guess this probably will be the next show, so welcome to episode 16 of School Sucks Podcast, and we'll take it from there. Now, my experience with, status friends, colleagues, family, has led to a lot of frustration, really from getting nowhere. But it's also led to a lot of dismay from watching people that not only that I care about, but who are kind and intelligent and thoughtful, rationalize and participate in and support the violence of strangers who do not care about them. It can be really upsetting. And the fact that they pretend that it's voluntary too. It sucks. It's hard to watch this. It's hard to have those kinds of conversations. But then after one of these heated discussions, I realized something. That no one who ever put up any resistance to anything I said, no matter how smart they were, how experienced they were, how old they were, had ever produced a rational counter-argument against anything I had ever said. Now think about that for a moment. I started to think about what all of these interactions had in common. And it was the employment of a deeply, deeply flawed rhetorical device that they all seem to be using, maybe by accident, of deeply imaginative, emotion and fear-driven catastrophes that might result if my philosophy became a reality. And it's usually packaged in a new series of questions, like what if, that begin with what if, and then of course the what about questions that we're all familiar with, like what about the roads? And what if somebody dangerous gets a nuclear weapon? Right, because now nobody dangerous has nuclear weapons. What if somebody punches you in the face? What if somebody's dog bites you? How would you get water? So basically, what they want to do is they want to take whatever you're saying and they want to just wipe that clean and instead replace it with this vision of my society where we're all driving our cars through the woods in the middle of a perpetual nuclear war being fought by gangs. And this is catastrophizing. This is what catastrophizing is. And of course, conventional wisdom is known, it's comfortable. For most people, unfortunately, it's good enough.
The argument from Apocalypse.
Exactly. That's, as it's been called, the catastrophizing or the argument from Apocalypse. So we not only take on, in this pursuit, we're not only taking on the fear of the unknown, but we're also taking on the comfort with what they have as it exists now. So anytime we have to have these discussions, as Rothbard pointed out, we have to play their game on their field, by their rules, with their language. And people have, like I said, have always considered this to be a huge disadvantage. So what if in these discussions, and this is my idea, and like I said, do with it what you will, we could have a mirror of sorts that we could use. And if you think about most of these debates on politics, what pretty much happens is, like when people, Republicans and Democrats, debate, they pretty much, plant their feet firmly on one side of the hypocritical and irrational political spectrum, and they just kind of hurl their feces at each other until they're exhausted. And whatever family dinner or neighborhood party that was going on in the background that they haven't been paying attention to for a couple hours is completely ruined. And this is what most people are used to. Oh, you know what? I think it's funny too that if you see people having discussions like this, go and jump in. And just kind of sit on the sidelines and lob your ideas in. So, like, just when you get a chance. And they're spitting on each other, and they're very red, usually. But just start lobbing your ideas in, casually. And what you'll find within a matter of minutes is that these two people who are about to grab each other's throats are suddenly best friends. They're holding hands. They're united against you. Like, hey, nobody's going to come and inject a bunch of logic and reasoning and morality into a perfectly good turd-throwing contest. But this is what most people are used to. These, very firmly planted feet, not interested in, they're not even listening to each other, right? They're talking past each other and over each other. And you can see the look on someone's face when somebody's talking, and you just see that look like, oh my God, I can't wait till I can get to talk again. I'm thinking what I'm going to say, I know what I'm going to say. Not even listening, I mean, that's but imagine this. Think about how bewildering it would be if during one of these discussions that one of you were having with the statist, you said, hey, you know what? Let's switch places. Right, silence, of course, right? Now, this would certainly catch them off guard. Maybe it caught some of you off guard. Like, what do you mean? You'd have their attention, though. And this is not how political debates work. We don't suddenly switch sides or consider other people's points of view. It's like simple. We plant feet, hoop in hand, and throw. Right? There's no like considering what other people's opinions are. I said, no. I think you misunderstood what I'm saying. I don't mean switch sides. I mean switch places. It's a little different. It might be good at this point to stop and explain what it is that you, arguing from the libertarian position, are doing. And basically, you've put out some kind of base principle. For us, the principle of non-aggression. The idea that it's wrong to initiate force against innocent people. And you built up a belief system above that can apply to any of these political or economic or educational or societal discussions that go on. And then say to the person, now, since we seem to disagree on so much, your belief system must have some kind of very, very different underlying principle. So what I'd like to do for just 5 minutes, just humor me, is I want to pretend that your ideas are new and weird and uncomfortable. And I want to be somebody who, no matter what anybody says to me, can only respond with some kind of fear-based, catastrophe-driven what-if scenario. And let's see how that goes. And I think, what's the best way to do this? How are we doing on time, by the way? Someone?
In about 40 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay, so we'll do this quick. I'll give you an idea of what this might look like. And this is, again, as I said, this is a bit of a fantasy. This would be very difficult to get an actual statist to give these answers. But the first thing, the most important thing is that you identify some kind of underlying principle for the belief system, and then they have to articulate that, and then you can catastrophize against it. So they might start out by saying something like, All right, well, what we need to do is set up a system